Hi everyone. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some examples that you can practice because we love practicing at the practice space and judging is definitely the same thing. So we're going to look at a couple of examples and then I'm going to show the ballot and talk through what I would say on the ballot. And it's really important to remember that, again, judging is subjective. Even myself, as someone who's judged many, many, many rounds of speech and debate, I am just trying to be consistent with myself. I'm trying to trust myself, and that's what I'm using to judge. There isn't a right answer. You're just trying to be explicit about your comments and being able to communicate your impression throughout your feedback. So first, I'm going to go into an example of a novice competitor. And so she is offering her own original story, and she did it in the form of a poem.
Hi, my name is Isabella, and I'm in 6th grade. Today I am going to be reading a poem I wrote called The End of an Era. Birthdays are fun, but you will eventually realize that you are growing up. This is the end of an era. An era when you grew up with dolls or toy cars, when your parents told you stories before going to bed, when you thought and eventually learned that 2 + 2 isn't 5. Now that I look back, I realize how much I wanted to grow up and start middle school. I realize that we don't play with toys or dolls. Instead, we want makeup and video games. As we grow up, we miss what we used to be. We miss the summers when we played outside, not locked up in our rooms playing with our friends online. Now I care about how I look and how people think about me. I care about the clothes I wear and what interests me. I wish I was 5. I wish I was still 5, wrapped up in my mother's arms, being pushed on the swing outside with my little brother, and helping my father when he needed to put up a fence so our dog wouldn't escape. Starting middle school was the start of a new era. Even though I miss my younger self, I still keep up with what's going on at the moment. There's somehow more homework and more responsibilities. The friends you have are now important and your popularity. I realize that 5-year-olds want to grow up so fast, but once you grow up, you want to be young again. I wish I was 5, but I'm 12. I wait as the start of a new era begins.
So let's look at the ballot and think about how we would judge this poem. So again, we can't really fill out rankings right now because we didn't see other speeches, but you would think to yourself, who is the best in the round? My pro tip on this one is when I listen to speeches, I like to put a little dot next to the speaker's name on my notes, and then I listen to the next speech and I think to myself, is this one better than the first one? And if so, then I give that one dot and I give the first speaker 2 dots. And then I continue and I keep comparing every single time and adjusting the dots so that by the end I can actually see what my ranking was. So if I were watching this speech and she was the first speaker, I would put a little dot by her name and then compare with the rest of the speakers later. So now looking at the overall points. So again, this is original story. I'm going to mark this part here. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to look at each of the rubric areas. So I'm looking, was the speaker prepared and able to perform without stumbling? Yeah, I think so. She was definitely more than getting started. She had it all memorized for herself and it felt pretty solid to me. She was pretty smooth and she wasn't relying on her notes. So I'm going to give her a 4. The speaker communicated a compelling topic and message. I definitely was very interested in her topic for sure. I think I might want a little bit more detail about why this topic mattered to her and maybe a little bit more context. And so, I don't know, I might give her a 3 in this area. The structure and flow of the speech was really clear, easy to follow the content and the clear transitions. Definitely, I thought she really had some nice flow here. But I also think at the same time, she could have maybe made some smoother transition from idea to idea. So I think a 3.5, honestly, but there are no 0.5. So I'm gonna give her a 3. Sometimes I might be feeling a little bit more generous and then I'd mark it as well. So the speaker used their voice to enhance the speech. I think so. She really was compelling. I really liked her speed and her tone. And so I'm going to give her a 4. The speaker used their body to enhance the speech. I didn't really see her hands or gestures during it, so I'm going to probably give her a 2 on this one. I think this is going to be the area that I talk about where she can focus next, because I think it'll make a big difference. But the overall performance was memorable and held my attention. At the end of the day, I really loved her theme and her topic, so I'm going to give her a 4 on this one. Notable elements, I'm going to probably highlight in the comments here that I really liked her topic. I'm, for the sake of this video, not writing in complete sentences, but I would probably say something about the topic. I also would say that I really liked how personal it was and how honest and vulnerable it was. On areas to focus next, I probably would focus mainly on gestures. Sometimes with students, less is more. So giving them a giant list of all the things to improve isn't going to be as effective. Instead of writing a little bit more on how she can use her body to emphasize her points. So I would say gestures and maybe variation in emotion throughout. And that is how you fill out a ballot. So that's for a novice speaker. I think just to compare, and so you can see what a varsity speaker looks like, it's important to see a few different levels. So we're going to play this next video, which is Nyla's speech. This is an advocacy speech. Whenever you're ready, Nyla.
Hello and welcome. My name is Nyla McBride, and today I'm running for president. I'm here to talk about homelessness issues. There have been 161,548 people who do not have a home since 2020 in California. Most people think that homeless people are just people who don't have homes, and that is true, but sometimes being homeless also means you don't have anyone to look out for you. For example, when you drive past homeless people, you usually see signs that they hold up. Some say, "Help me with money," or "I have a family and no money, no house, and no food." It's very heartbreaking to drive past them because I know that if it were me, that I would really want someone who cares and loves me. That's what it feels like every day for them. Imagine you out there all alone in bad weather, with no one to help you, care for you, or even talk to you. Some people don't just drive past homeless people. Sometimes they throw stuff at them, say stuff to them, even do stuff to them. That's what it feels like for almost every homeless person. And imagine as a kid too. There are kids who are out there wishing that they could have a roof over their heads, who want to have a friend to talk to and a person to play with. But sometimes they can't because they don't have a choice. It's horrible to just drive past them knowing that you could help. We can all help by giving money or asking for what they need. And it doesn't matter that you're a kid. You can still do it. Homeless people don't deserve to have to survive all alone out there in the rain or the snow or the hotness. If I become president, I will change all of the violence, the racism, and the unequal laws that occur in this country. If we do this, our nation will be so much better because more people will be happy. So please, support my act. You may not know these homeless people, but they need a home. And if you don't support that, that's okay. But the people who are with me, don't do it for me. Do it for them. Thank you.
All right, let's go into this ballot. So the speaker was prepared and able to perform without stumbling. Yes, definitely. The speaker was able to communicate a compelling topic and message. I was really shaken by this topic. I think it was just so impactful, and I really loved not only the theme, but also how much she persuaded me about this topic. The structure and the flow, I think she could probably continue making the content easier to follow a little bit in places because I wasn't quite sure what her next point was going to be, but that's being pretty picky, but I'll leave it at a 3 here. The speaker used their voice to enhance the speech. I think she definitely met that, very solid. Can probably do a little bit more with variation in volume and speed and tone. And then use body to enhance the speech. I saw a couple of gestures here and there, but maybe a little bit more. Overall performance was memorable and held my attention. This speech was done several years ago and I still remember it, so I'm going to give it a 5. Even in the moment when I watched it, it held my attention the entire time. For notable elements, I'll probably say something around like her unique take on the topic, and use of examples and subpoints. For areas to focus on next, I'll probably say something about being able to use more movement and variation in volume, speed, and tone, and maybe a little bit more evidence in order to be able to back up her ideas and make them even stronger. So those are just some examples of how you might use a ballot, and we have lots of other resources on the Practice Space YouTube, so make sure you subscribe.